team. We have a number of dignitaries here present. We have in the room the Commissioner for First Parliamentary Council, Commissioner Miriam Namutebi. We thank you very much. I know that many people in this country do not know very well that office, but that is a very, very important office in this country. Every legislation that you see or talk about or hear has to come from them, and they are the ones who originate it, and it's a very important task they perform. And talking of legislation, the UPPC is the official printer or publisher of all laws, bills, statutes. The Uganda Gazette, they are the ones who print it. And on that note, don't forget, they have a number of laws at the back. Just pass by and buy a copy. They are not very expensive, especially if you're thinking about the amount of knowledge that they carry. I have personally already bought a copy of the amended constitution, only 25,000, the hard copy. You can't get it easily in many other places. So buy yourself a copy, and of any other law or act. We have also, I told you we would be recognizing all organizations that are here. We have the Law Development Center represented here. A representative from the LDC, kindly stand up for recognition. Thank you very much. I need to start with you because when I come there later this year, I need you to treat me well, please, because that place is a hard place. We have officials from UBRA. Thank you very much for being part of this organization. The NPA, National Planning Authority, your representatives, kindly stand up. Right there, thank you very much. We have Baroque Publishers. Is it Baroque or Baroque? Baroque Publishers are also in the house. Kindly stand up for recognition wherever you are. They are at the back there. Thank you very much. We have GIZ Republic. GIZ, thank you very much. That's a German organization for development. We have the UIRI, stand up for recognition, their representatives. Thank you very much. They are right there at the door. We have UNMC. UNMC, thank you very much for participating and for being partners of UPPC. The Makerere School of Public Health. Makerere School of Public Health. They are at the back there. You're most welcome. We also have Nkumba University. Nkumba, thank you very much for taking care of our university students. There is the UNRA, Uganda National Roads Authority, the guys who do our roads and connect the country. Great to see you all, representatives from that place. CMC, stand up for recognition. Yes, at the back. Ushers, may I request that these tables in front, unless they are reserved, should be filled. There are too many organizations and their representatives seated at the back. There is a table here, the other one, they are all empty. Ushers, can you, as we move along, kindly ensure that the places in front are all occupied. For organization's sake, but also for the cameras, the unoccupied tables don't look nice on camera, especially when they are in front. So kindly come in front and take up the seats in front. Ushers, please, even this table is empty. We have the Media Fraternity, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC, is relaying this live. NBS as well, or the Next Media. We thank you all. If you're from any other media organization apart from UBC and NBS that I've already mentioned, kindly let me know. I don't wish any of you, of course I've already mentioned Vision Group. I don't want to miss on any one of you because it's important that we recognize your partnership with the UPPC. I'm now going to the rest, when they come in and when we sort them out, I will recognize you as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now going to take this singular honor to invite the acting sales and marketing manager of the UPPC to come up and give us a presentation. Victoria Namulondo. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together to welcome Victoria. Victoria, where are you? Kindly come and give us your presentation to start us off. You're most welcome.
Sticks to what I
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone. My name is Victoria Stella Namulondo, and first of all, I would love to welcome you all to this event. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. Most of you got them on short notice, but we are honored that you're here and part of us today. Secondly, I would love to thank you that for UPPC to celebrate 120 years today, we have not done it alone. It is because of you that we are here. We have survived these 120 years. Okay, not all of us are 120, but it has been there because of the foundations that were laid by these particular organizations. So we want to thank you so much. So I'll briefly take you through what UPPC does and give you an insight of what we actually offer to the public and to government. Some people out there know us as Uganda Gazette. They don't even know what we do and all. But as representatives from your different organizations, today we thought it right that I could give you an insight of what really happens, what we do. I'll be extremely brief so that we can manage to beat the program and keep time. So, right away. That is my name. I already introduced myself, and I'm working as a sales manager for UPPC. Sorry. Sorry. Okay, who we are. Our name is Uganda Printing and Publishing Corporation. What does that mean? We do all sorts of printing, call it security printing or general printing. Our name is clear. We are Uganda Printing and Publishing. So I'll start with the publishing bits. Within the millennials, when you talk about Uganda Printing and Publishing Corporation, what comes to them is simply the Uganda Gazette. But when you mix with the older generations, what they know is the government printer. So we embrace both names. You can call us the government printer or the Uganda Gazette, but we do everything. So that is basically who we are. The place was came into existence in 1902, and later in 1992, it was enacted into a corporation by an act of parliament. Yeah. This I already told you. So UPPC, as we celebrate 120 years, our main aim is to make the corporation your one-stop center, like your one-stop shop for all your printing needs, all your publishing needs. Like when you talk about printing, when you're drafting your printing budgets, what comes to your mind is UPPC. You can't even think about, I don't want to give you space to think about any other printery. I want to brainwash you, like it is UPPC that comes to your mind first. This is government, you have to support government. So that is why I'm saying we want to become your one-stop center for all your printing needs and publishing. Yeah. So what is Uganda Gazette? In a layman's language, I could call it the government newspaper. But if you want me to explain it in detail, I could say it's like a media that the government uses to inform the public about changes that have been made and the laws that are being drafted, the regulations, the acts and all that. It's basically like a notice board for the government, but just that people are not so interested in reading these, or they don't know, they lack the information. But everything that goes on in government is announced in the Uganda Gazette. So who consumes the Gazette? All of us. You ask me why, Vicky, why are you saying all of us are consumers of the Uganda Gazette? We are not all lawyers, we are not all doing this. I mean, today it's just PROs mainly and all, but as I take you through, you will see where you fall in the Gazette, how it serves you as an individual, not even as an entity, but at an individual level. Okay. Okay. So we have the contents of I explained to you a gazette is basically the government newspaper. So what is contained in that government newspaper? We call them supplements, and we have what we call general notices. What is involved in the general notices are the company notices. That is where you find people changing company names, where they have to announce and inform the public that we are bankrupt. You see, we are bankrupt, we are winding up our companies, we are changing the directors. So all these company notices are run in the Gazette. You could be there and your company has run down, or you want to change its name or something. You're supposed to bring it to the Gazette. Those are things that we put out in the Gazette for the public to know. Then we have what we call certificates of eligibility. These are mainly for the legal fraternity, for them to be accepted to practice. They have to come and be gazetted. Then we have the celebration of marriages. Most of us are at that age of marriage. But is the church where you went to get married, was it gazetted? Is it legally recognized in Uganda? You could get to a point where you want to file for divorce and you get to court and they're like, the church was never registered. So there was no marriage, you know? These are things we underlook now, but in future, these are things that we get caught up in that gap. So go back home, look at your marriage certificate, ask yourself, is this church actually gazetted? Is it legally recognized by the law, by the government of Uganda? Anything can happen and you would need to have it. I mean, if you're like in the born-again churches, go and speak to your pastors. They need to get their churches registered and gazetted. Then publishing of professionals. Most of us here are professionals. We have professional bodies always keep coming annually, the accountants, the veterinary doctors, the nurses, every profession. I am a marketeer, professional marketeer, so we're having discussions with our president because we also need to get recognized. And when you're under that cover of like a fraternity, an umbrella, you can lobby for something as a group with a lot of strength. But when you're just thrown out there, it's something different. So I beg you, the PROs here, we want to gazette you, want your body to come up, the proud body. We want you to also come, list your members. You could have maybe requirements to become a member. You set a list, then we gazette you. And I mean, these days when the HRs are advertising for jobs, they always ask for belonging to professional bodies or added advantages. This is where it comes in. I belong to the professional body of marketeers, both in Uganda and in the UK. That's a stronghold. So I request the proud members as well, come in and join us. The media fraternity, everybody in whatever profession you are, this is for all of us. All notices from public entities. We keep getting, like, you heard about the electricity bill that was recently amended. This came from the era. Then we have Electoral Commission, everything you see running, like during the electoral season when we are voting and all, everything you see coming has to come through the Gazette. That's why when you see people running back to court, back and forth, they'll ask them, was it gazetted? Were you gazetted? Then if you are not gazetted, you cannot claim to be a member of parliament or something. Then appointments to public offices. This was done then. I'm glad that the public service is fully represented here. All public officers, whichever appointment is made, whatever level, these are supposed to be gazetted. But at the moment, it's at a particular level. So I'm encouraging all of us to come through, ask your employers, are we doing this? Are we utilizing the Gazette? Yeah. Then the trademarks. These include the industrial property designs and renewal of registered trademarks. This is for mainly business owners. Then the advertisements. This is where everybody, I think, when I told you, we are all consumers of the Gazette, the deed polls. We all have national IDs, some of which the names were misspelled or the dates of birth. This is where it comes in. You go to the bank and they tell you the names don't tally, you need to do this. I need you to come to the Gazette, let us have it published and put your papers right. When you were in school, maybe you had 2 names, now you're married, you have 3 names. You will have to put your papers right. Come and we have your names gazetted. Tell us what you want to use. Of course, there's a process involved in all these. You have to go and get it registered with URSB and then you bring it for gazetting. But the main purpose is, let us put things right. Because sometimes you see, when we're in a Entebbe office, we see people being bounced from the airport, go on Gazette, and someone's flight being cancelled for maybe a week. It's such an inconvenience. This is something you would do. Then we have what we call the issue of special certificates of title. If you've lost your title, why not come to us? We advise you. I mean, if you lose it, someone else who is smarter, someone who is informed, who knows about the Gazette, will take it, run to the Uganda Gazette and announce it there. So it becomes theirs legally. Yet you coming and putting it in UPPC at only 200,000, that's little money, instead of losing a title worth billions. So we encourage all of us. We are all landowners. We all do deed polls. Then the administration causes. These manage estates of the deceased and the court cases. We always gazette the people who manage estates of the dead to avoid all those family wrangles and all. From Administrator General, you have the letters of administration, run to the Gazette, have them there. You will not have all those problems. So that is why when I was starting, I told you everybody is a consumer of the Gazette. It's not moving. Okay, in conclusion, all of us here are consumers of the Gazette, like I already told you. So it's my humble appeal. If you have a problem or if you want to gazette something, put aside the government documents that are mandatory, but personal issues, your churches, your marriages could be at stake because your churches were never gazetted. Your names, academic documents and all. We see people being thrown out at a time of elections. Why? It is because of that. Names tally. They are not the same, but this is something very, very small. So it's my humble appeal as we come out today to teach you about UPPC, tell you what we do and how we do it. Our doors are open as we celebrate 120 years. We're even thinking of giving a small discount on some of these services so that you, our beloved clients, can come and participate. We don't want to leave you behind. We want to move forward with you. And maybe one thing I should mention is the content of the Gazette. The Gazette is the only legally recognized document in the courts of law. You cannot run to court with a mere newspaper or with a mere agreement. It has to be the Uganda Gazette. So it's the only document that contains authentic information. If you have anything to announce to the public, you're safer putting it in the Gazette. Our staff cannot be compromised on this. And we don't do it directly with you. We do it with the relevant organizations. Like, we work closely with the Ministry of Works, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Lands, Electoral Commission, Uganda Registration Services Bureau, the First Parliamentary Council, so all that. As I wind up on the Gazette, I need to inform you that the publishing bit of UPPC includes announcing, informing the public that these laws have been passed by Parliament. We have quite a number of laws. If I was given the whole day to speak, I would talk about all the laws, but there are so many. The Succession Act is out. The Marriage Act has already been there. We have the NSSF bill, now the Coffee Act. In our archives, we even have the Coffee Acts of 1940. This is information that if we have any farmers here, you could come and look at what the Coffee Act in 1940 said and what are they changing now in 2022. Like all these things. We have all this information, good historical information that could be helpful in our businesses, in anything. The government people, we have what we call the Bible for every public servant, the public service standing orders. Each one of us needs this because you need to read, you need to understand, if I do this, what is the punishment, where does this take me to? Every public servant needs this, the public service standing order. We all need the penal code, we need the leadership codes, we need the anti-corruption. I'm glad IGG is here fully represented. We need the Evidence Act. You know, there's so much. I will share my contact. Anything you think of, any act, any regulations, they are there with UPPC, and I invite you to come and purchase them. And our rates are really low. You could find a book at 10,000 shillings. We carried one of the people the long service people of UPPC, one that will take you through the process of gazetting anything or explain to you any law as you need it. We carried 2 of our long-serving staff, and they're seated at the corner in the back. If you have any question you'd want to know, even if it's a bill as far back as 1902, those 2 gentlemen at the back have all that content with them. Or if you're interested in any publication, there are 2 gentlemen seated at the back. They will help you with all that. Yeah. So lastly, I'll talk about the printing bit. We do printing services. That's general printing and the security printing. With general printing is when you come with anything. Vicky, I need these boxes and I'll print for you. And my prices are really low. We are not as expensive as you look to the private owners. This is government to government. So I encourage you to bring all your printing works. We do, like you can see, we do business cards, envelopes, examinations, everything. We cannot, there's nothing that it will tell you UPPC cannot print that. Like I told you earlier, I want you to make UPPC your one-stop center for all your printing needs. Yeah. Then the security printing bit is, security printing is basically when you have, like the schools, when they have certificates or transcripts, they want it customized with security marks embedded so that they are not forged easily down by the private people. So if you have something that you need a security mark embedded or something customized, come to us. This is our specialty. It's bread and butter for us. It's not something that will take long, and we'll do it to our best of our ability. So anything to do with security printing, you're very welcome. As we conclude, I would love to inform our clients that we have put some measures in place to serve you better. A journey of 120 years has not been as easy as it sounds, but we have put some measures in place now to serve you better, to bring our products closer to you. What have we done? We have opened up a fully furnished publishing house, like department. This is mainly for the private authors. You have a book, instead of running to Nairobi, instead of running to South Africa, Johannesburg, you come to us. We shall publish it for you, help you in getting the ISBN number and everything. So let us sort that publishing arm as well for you. Then we have acquired new state-of-the-art machinery, whereby you bring a job in the morning and you can be able to wait for 2 to 3 hours at the moment. Then the introduction of the e-Gazette, we have managed to put the Gazette app online, And we shall be able to share with you the link on which you can subscribe and just get e-copies. Since most people are moving out of physical papers, we can always share with you, and you subscribe to this at a cheaper cost and get rolling. Then lastly, we have regional places in almost 10 districts of Uganda. You go to Mbara, UPPC is there. You go to Gulu, you'll find us there. You go to Mbale, you go to Jinja, there's UPPC. And if you have any questions that they cannot answer on ground, they will always give us a call and we'll always get back to you immediately. So you cannot just like get stranded, like you're traveling from Bara to bring something to Gazette. No. In Hoima, we've gone up to Kapchora. So we are all over. Kitgum, Lira, all those places we've covered. Lastly, as we come to an end of this presentation, as we celebrate 120 years, we have planned for a series of activities, and this launch is one of the activities. We are launching the activities today. Then after, we plan to go out and do some CSR activities. We plan to visit universities, the vice chancellors. As we approach you, we want you to give us your engineering students. Let them come and look at our machinery. In class, it is theory. But when you come to UPPC on ground, we want to give them the physical bit of it. We want to train them at zero cost. Then when it comes to the legal fraternity, we are approaching the LDC and other law schools. We want to come and like sensitize the students so that they can know what is a Gazette. You can find someone is graduating, but they don't even know what Gazette does, what it is. So we want to come and give back to you. And so many other activities, especially within Entebbe community, which is our home. Then lastly, we shall crown our events with we are going to publish a magazine. That is where I want to request all of us to please participate. Come and write about UPPC, your experience with us, come and advertise with us in the magazine. We have given you very subsidized prices, and the coverage for this is going to be really, really good. Unless there are any questions, I thank you so much for being a good audience.
Let's clap again for Victoria and for a good presentation and for keeping within the time. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to quickly recognize more organizations that have partnered with the UPPC to make this day a success. We have BIT or BIT. Representatives of BIT, kindly stand up for recognition. They are right there. Thank you. 3Com Limited. 3Com Limited, we value your partnership. Thank you very much. The big guy, the guys that we have all gone through, all of us in this room, UNEB. Where are the UNEB guys? The UNEB guys, stand up. We will not have any problem with you because all of us in this room have gone successfully through your hands. Thank you very much. UNEB, thank you very much. The Association of Tour Operators, the tour operators, yes, thank you very much, madam, and your colleagues. The NHCCL, where are they? Their representative, okay. Elite, the Elite Digital, thank you, thanks for coming. Datamine Techs, representative of Datamine Techs, yes, right. Where are you seated? Okay, I don't see any representative standing up, but they are in the room. Good deeds. Good deeds. Your representative, kindly stand up. Thank you very much, Madam in red. Thank you. Uganda Air Cargo Corporation. The Uganda Air Cargo Corporation, thank you. The Uganda Free Zone Authority. Yes, thank you very much, the ladies over there. The Uganda Human Rights Commission is also represented in the house. Where are you? Yes, at the back there. Thanks for being part of the organization. NEMA, the environmental protectors. Thank you very much. The IRA, or the Insurance Regulatory Authority. Thank you very much, the lady representing the IRA. We talked in the morning when we were starting about some of the oldest companies, and I tried to, tease out some of them, and I noticed that there are not very many. Uganda Clays, is Uganda Clays in the room, represented here? Uganda Clays, they have done 72 years. It's a really milestone. The Bank of Baroda, 53 years. The one that comes very close, same generation with the UPPC. Is there anyone from Stanbic Bank Uganda? They are almost age mates. Stanbic Bank Uganda, they are not in the room, but they have done 116, still below the, still younger than UPPC, from 1906, and they found UPPC alive. So UPPC, you're doing good. Continue living and continue doing the best for this country. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now take the pleasure to invite the acting managing director to give his address. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Mr. Oluka Kenneth, the acting MD, to come and talk to us.
Thank you so much. Ndugu Charles Odongto, I must say you're doing a good job. I'm happy that we made a choice of you to direct this ceremony. Our chief guest, the Minister for the Presidency, Honorable Babirye Mili Babalanda, ably represented by the Secretary Office of the President, Haji Yunus Kakande, the Managing Director, Uganda Security Printing Company, my colleague George Mugerwa, I hope he's here. I know they've been conducting interviews for recruitment, but I hope he has a representative here. Fellow chief executive officers for various agencies of government and private companies, our partners, heads of institutions, our panelists tonight, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you to the launch of activities to mark 120 years of existence of the government printer, now known as Uganda Printing and Publishing Corporation, UPPC. You're most welcome. I have a written speech of 7 pages, and I felt I did injustice to this institution of 120 years by doing only 7 pages of speech. It should have been probably a page per decade, and so I would have had 12 pages, but I just used my editorial skills and squeezed it to 7 pages. And then my colleague, the sales and marketing manager, Madam Stella Victoria Namlondo, has done justice to talk about some of the things that I would otherwise have mentioned here. But don't mind if I repeat some of them for emphasis. Ladies and gentlemen, I warmly welcome you all here on behalf of UPPC. And from the onset, Haji and our colleagues and friends, allow me introduce the team that I work with. May I ask the staff of UPPC to stand up and step forward for recognition. The managers and staff, please step forward so that these people see you. Kindly step up here. The gentleman here is our finance manager, the acting finance manager. Yes, that's here. Mr. J.B. Ahimbisibwe. Interestingly, we are most of us are in acting capacities. I was introducing the man in charge finance. He's acting finance manager, finance and accounting, Mr. J.B. Ahimbisibwe. I want to introduce, Victoria has already been introduced. Let me introduce the other managers. Our public affairs and corporate affairs manager, Rebecca. The human resource and administration manager next to me here, Betty Ajambo, forward. And the acting printing and publishing manager, Mr. Ronnie Kahuma. The corporation secretary, Connie Ariada. And then we have got the acting chief internal auditor, Mr. Henry Katende. Is there any manager I've left out? In the interest of time, I will not introduce all the other colleagues, but I want to single out a few. If you know that you have worked with UPPC for the last 3 decades, step forward and I introduce you. Those who have worked for 3 decades. Ladies and gentlemen, by virtue of the crown that God has given me, I have arrogated myself to be the oldest person in UPPC. And when we advertised recently, somebody said, UPPC 120 years, the CEO himself looks like he's 120 years. We can believe that they are. And I said, thanks be to God. Probably that will win us some more clients. I want to introduce those 2 gentlemen. Mr. Stephen Kisembo is a graphics person. He's been there for over 30 years. And then For those who have dealt with UPPC at a distance and may have not met the person, in our slang we call him the General, Charles Katete Waswa. That gentleman is the man who handles all the typesetting of laws and legislations. And he's a walking encyclopedia of laws and legislation. He knows when they were gazetted by head, and I'm telling you, the man did not need to go to law school. At times when young lawyers come, he educates them on issues of law. You'd think he's a senior counsel. That is Mr. Katete. We want to thank them because they are the institution memory. We have about 5 other people there. So as we told you, this is the beginning of a series of activities. We shall be introducing more of them later. The Master of Ceremonies has advised me that this could be an opportunity for us to have a photo as staff, and allow me join my colleagues so that the photographers can have this photo. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, at 120 years, UPPC is the forerunner of the printing and publishing industry in Uganda and is one of the oldest institutions of in this country. There is therefore every reason for us to celebrate this milestone because it is no mean achievement. Like Charles mentioned, there are just a few institutions that have lived for more than 120 or 100 years. And a few schools like Mengo and some others, including my own school, Ngora High School, which was started in 1914 as a missionary school. So I've had the privilege of marking a century in 2 institutions where I have been 2. And UPPC, as you realize, was started only 2 years after the signing of that famous agreement of 1900. And the idea of the British colonialists at that time was that they needed to take record of what they were doing in the British East Africa and in their protectorate, the Uganda protectorate. And so they started the Uganda Gazette, which is built on like a prototype of the London Gazette, which is the official newspaper of record of Britain. So that is when the Uganda Gazette started. That is when the government printer started. And so here we are. Up to the time of independence, in 1962, the independence government then took over the Gazette, and it continued to be the official newspaper of government, a newspaper published by authority, a newspaper registered as the only official paper of government. Even in 1971, when General Idi Amin took over power, they had to publish the decrees in the Gazette, and we have a copy of those decrees. And that is how rich UPPC is in information. Over the years, the government printer has done a lot of printing of government policy statements, of annual reports and what have you. In our archives, we have materials as far back as 1902. We have some documents of the 1920s. We have gazettes of 1930s, 1940s. And for those of you who are interested in research, for those of you who are involved in law, that is the place where you can get really rich history of our nation, especially in as far as legal matters is concerned. I was privileged when I had just joined UPPC to get a Gazette of 1954. And in it was the name of my father, who was gazetted as having qualified for high school in Nabumali High School then. And I was so excited. So you could also go and check. You might get the names of your parents there and your ancestors. It's a very, very good place. Recently, when debate was raging on the coffee bill, I came across the coffee bill of 1964. And I said probably the ones who are discussing now could get some insights from the coffee bill of 1964. The Enguli Act of 1964. The other day I came across a document of hydrology and petrology of Uganda, of the Bufumbira region of 1929. Lately we see planes hovering around doing surveys. The British had done surveys long ago. I have that document. I think they are somewhere. 1929, hydrology of the Bufumbira, and you see that they have indicated where there are oil potentials or oil wells and what have you. So, in brief, what I'm trying to say is that that is a place of history of this nation, documented history. You get speeches, you get budgets. I was looking at the budget of 1986-87 when the NRM had just come to power, and it was only 53 billion Uganda shillings. The one that Dr. Yonga read. There was one of Professor, who was Ponchano, the first one, and then Dr. You have all, if you want to do research, if you want to see the trends of things here, you would get them at UPPC. However, over the years, we have not put these records in a very proper manner, and now we are in the process of digitizing so that they are easily available to the public. And we want to build a national archive. We want to build an archive, a research base where people can come and research and see what governments have done over the years in terms of law, in terms of policies, and you can get things like the government white paper on education. I saw a report of the 1980 elections. I saw another report of the Constituent Assembly elections. So it is a place of rich with a lot of information. The legal fraternity, you probably would benefit best from that place. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, we are here to tell a story of 120 years as forerunners of printing and publishing industry in Uganda. As the saying goes, the older, the sweeter. The more experienced, the more grounded, the more fortified we are. And UPPC is all these things. In terms of printing and publishing, very well grounded, well fortified, and we have the experience. When it comes to security printing, there is perhaps no entity that beats us in that area. What an opportunity if you did business with us. These gentlemen, like the ones I introduced you, and the ladies who have been there for a long time, are so well trained and experienced in security printing that they will not release information even with a gun on their head. That is how strict we are. And we do not have to have, we only installed cameras recently because now we have all sorts of people. But they would not walk out with any document. They know. In the olden times, they would go to the factory with barely nothing and nothing in the pockets, and you print and you go. So we have that experience, and we want to give you that assurance that in terms of security printing, we are the organization of choice. Of course, we have enhanced that with the modern technology now. without going into details, we are now involved in printing some of the academic documents and certificates embedded with very serious security marks, which are difficult to forge. And this we have been able to do with enhanced technologies. Enhanced technologies like the HP Indigo machine that my colleague talked about. With the HP Indigo machine, this is a state-of-the-art machine, and we have a 7K series, which is the latest in HP technology of printing. You can do what my local people used to call possible impossibilities. That things which are impossible can be made possible with that Indigo. We shall have sessions in the future where we shall show you what it can do. You can do labels, you can do tickets for events, you can do books and several other things. And we are in the process of acquiring new press, post-press, and pre-press equipment. We invited you here today not only to share this joy of the long journey, but more importantly to express our appreciation to those of you who have sustained us in business. We also wanted to showcase our printing and publishing products and services, and to appraise you with the kind of printing solutions UPPC can offer. We would like to leverage on this milestone of 120 years of longevity to tell you a story of our journey. A journey of 120 years of printing and publishing. This journey has sometimes been bumpy, but I can assure you that in most cases, it has been steadfast. It has been steadfast, and we are on the right trajectory to make it even better. My colleague did justice to what UPPC is, a state corporation established by an Act of Parliament in 1992, laws of Uganda. The corporation, as I told you, started as a British government printery, and it has developed over the years. Our main business is printing and publishing. Let me categorize to you the phases through which UPPC has gone through so that you understand this history. From 1902 to 1962, during the colonial era, typing was done by joining metallic letters. You get letter O, put. Get letter L, you put U, K, and A to form the name Oluka. Then you get I, S is acting managing director, letter by letter. That's where it started. And those letters would form sentences. And then the sentences will then form your pages, and then they would join the letters, and the document would be complete. Then it is put to printing. That was up to 1962. From 1962 to 1992, mechanical typesetting came in, where typing was being done by monotype and intertype machines, resulting in fast typesetting. These colleagues of mine experienced that one. And the monotype and intertype machines were used to cast types from hot metal composed of lead. There were a few computers. That is when the computers started coming, the IBMs. You remember the small IBMs? And my colleagues experienced that. So, then from there, it moved to 1993 when it became a corporation. And now we acquired more sophisticated computers like the Macintosh and then the Microsoft computers. And we had darkroom cameras and that kind of technology. We still have them there. The latter or later part is the digital era, which we are now embracing by bringing machines like the digital printing equipment that I have just told you about. And also, we are in the process of getting more equipment. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because at UPPC, one of our plans is to develop a national archive and a mini museum. We have those machines there. We want the young generation to appreciate development of technology, especially print technology, by looking at where it came from. For those of us who studied history of Gutenberg and the German machines, you remember those German machines, the Heidelberg machines, some of you would have heard about them. You get them at UPPC, machines which are 30 years old, 40 years old, and several years old. So we want to, just of honor, establish a mini museum. We will also want to develop a national archive. And this will go hand in hand with the other plan that we have of reviving a printing school at UPPC. UPPC used to have a training school for printers, the only school at that time. Currently, as we talk, there is no school that exclusively trains printers. As a national corporation, as a public enterprise, we want to make a contribution of skilling young people through training them in printing. So we are already in the formative stages of reviving that school, and we hope by next year it will take off, so that we make a contribution, skill Ugandans so that they can get gainful employment, train the people who go to do work in Nasarod in ethical methods of printing, so that we do not say Nasarod, no, we want to have make that contribution. In any case, there are many people who are operating in Nasarod who were formerly trained at UPPC. Many of them, some of them went to New Vision, some of them went to Nasarod, some of them went to Makerere University. So guest of honor, we want to appeal for your support and for agencies interested in issues of skilling youth, notably like UBTEB, that is the technical education, GIZ, I know the Germans are interested in print technology so much. We are also talking to the National Curriculum Development Center, because apart from reviving the printing school, ladies and gentlemen, we also have plans of taking a lead role in promoting literacy in this country. We want to print and publish materials which are approved by Ministry of Education or the National Curriculum Development Center, which are not necessarily subject matter books. And we, for instance, we go to a school and we say we printed these materials. They are about hygiene. They might be about environment, why you should protect the environment. They might be about something to do with preventing child pregnancies and marriages. And then we collect the children and we do reading sessions over a weekend. Materials printed by UPPC, supported by NCDC, Ministry of Education, UNESCO, and you promote literacy, reading. The reading culture is so poor in the country, and no wonder our newspapers do not sell very many copies. My colleague Don Wanyama, I don't know whether he's here, or colleagues from New Vision, I know in the region our figures of newspapers, the New Vision and Monitor, and are very low. In fact, Bukede it does very well when it comes to reading. People read Bukede a lot. You know, we barely do 80,000 copies of all our newspapers here combined on a day. But you cross over to Kenya, Charles, you may correct me, I think they do between 250,000 and 300,000 copies. What went wrong in Uganda? We used to lead them, you remember? Some of us when we were young, they would say, those fellows from Kenya would cross to Tororo and Busia to get better education. Now I think the reverse is happening. As a corporation, we think we can make a contribution. We need to teach our children to read, and read materials which help us either to keep our environment, like civic education of our times. We have those plans as a corporation, and we think that we cannot do this without you. That is why we invited you, so that we tell you our story, we tell you our plans, and we cross-pollinate ideas, and we see how together we can make a contribution to the transformation of this nation. a contribution towards Vision 2040. As a corporation, we should not be interested in only the monies, but we should use this money and give it back to the community. So that's one of the things, our chief guest, that we would want to do. My colleague already talked about a series of activities that we are going to conduct, and I will not repeat it as written in my speech. Guest of honor, we are strengthening our partnerships with law training institutions. We plan to visit all the law schools in this country and make some contributions in the form of legal documents, including books. We have a number of books which we can donate to the law schools. We have a number of books that we can put in public libraries so that people can read. And so that's why we invited people from law schools here. And I'm grateful that the Law Development Center is represented. Yes, I saw Law Development. Thank you so much for coming. I know after the graduation next Friday, my daughter is one of those graduating. The following week, we shall have an avalanche of people who have graduated from LDC coming to Gazette so that they are registered as advocates. So tell them, get the contacts of the sales and marketing manager so that these young people, you see, what we've discovered is that some people take advantage of ignorance. This is a direct thing. Nobody should charge these people extra money. And that's why we have included in our pack the list of our rates, the Gazette rates, so that you know what you are going to pay to UPPC. And use those contacts so that, and tell people they use those contacts so that nobody fleeces them. We have had stories of people paying 1.5 million, for instance, for a notice that would cost only 300,000 shillings. And that's why at times people say UPPC, the Uganda Gazette, is very expensive. In essence, last year we actually reduced our rates, if you see the rate card. And the idea was to take care of low-income music industry, registration of their copyrights. So we have like the classifieds that you have in the newspapers, so that we take care of every Ugandan, because gazetting is very important. Through you, guest of honor, we request to have a special session in Parliament to recognize the work of the government printer over the years. After all, Parliament is one of our biggest suppliers and consumers. And we think that our role, Parliament, should be recognized, because through the past Parliamentary Council, we get the laws that are taken to Parliament. The past Parliamentary Council, the Ministry of Justice, the Law Reform Commission, and the Judiciary, these are some of our biggest, partners in as far as laws are concerned. And I thought it would be a good thing, if it has never been done, this would be a precedent to recognize a corporation, a public enterprise that has made immense contribution over a century and 20 years plus, and is still going strong and is not about to end. I thought that guest of honor needs to be recognized. Our chief guest, we have also planned to engage in various corporate social responsibility activities and other stakeholder engagements. We want to thank your office because it has been very helpful whenever we want to reach out to partners. Like for this meeting, the Honorable Minister was kind enough to give us a cover letter so that it gives weight to our invitation, and we thank you for that. For those interested in knowing the history of printing industry, you're welcome to UPPC. We shall also have an exhibition at the Constitutional Square, popularly known as the City Square, before a culmination into a Thanksgiving in Kololo at the end of September. And on that note, I want to invite all of you come to Kololo, and we say, we thank you, Lord, for bringing us this far. We thank you, Lord, for the good that you have done to UPPC, and of course, for our partnerships. It's very important when you have such a milestone to stop and say thank you, Lord. I will personally be thanking the Lord because he made me the acting managing director of UPPC. 7 months down the road, and I always say it proudly, Haji, without shame, that I never lobbied for this position. You know, I am substantively the editor at UPPC. And I was busy, you know, reading my, making sure the Gazette is in the proper order. And a call comes through and says, this is Mr. Kenneth Oluka? And I said, yes. We would want you to be the acting managing director of UPPC, effective tomorrow. It was on 2nd December 2021. And then the person said, will you manage the pressure? And my response was prompt, by the grace of God, I will. And I want to share an inside, because I'm a believer. And we had established an altar, an ecumenical kind of altar. Anybody is free to go and pray in the boardroom. Because we said whether you're Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or what, you go and pray in the morning before we start work. Because that's where important decisions are made. And that is where good decisions are made. And that is potentially an area where wrong decisions are made. And then we said, can we break the spirit of wrong decisions at UPPC? Amen? And I think the Almighty God is listening to our prayers, regardless of our beliefs and faith. And for the last 6 or so months, guest of honor, the place has been very stable. We have had challenges, but they are not worth reporting to your office. That's why we've not reported them. We are managing them internally. And my policy with my senior colleagues was that let us first strengthen our internal policy, and then we shall go out to the public. And that's why we've come to you now, to give you the confidence that you may have had negative stories about UPPC. But the UPPC of 2022, which is exactly 120 years old, is not the same UPPC as the UPPC of 115 years. This is a new era, a new beginning. Whether I'm there or not, I'm quite sure my colleagues and myself, with the help of the Office of the Minister, are on the right trajectory. And soon, you never know, we might come back and announce to you, probably by the time we go for Thanksgiving, that we are on the other trajectory, like the Minister of Finance says. And it will be very difficult to catch us, because we shall be buoyant in the air, very many feet above sea level. And I'm quite sure, as I told you, that the Almighty God who put me there and put each of these managers there and put the minister where she is, that she decided that you get somebody from within, whether you know him or not, will sustain us and keep us thriving. So we want to invite you one more time to do business with us, because we shall take good care of your business interests, on your printing interests, your publishing interests. On that note, guest of honor, we have a plan to revive the publishing function of UPPC, because we have been doing more of printing, but we want to get back to publishing educational books. We shall work with the Ministry of Education and all higher institutions of learning that want to publish research. We have retrieved our ISBN, and so we are ready to take off. We're going to put in place a publishing department and manager, because that is a core role of UPPC. The publishing we've been doing has basically been for the Gazette and those laws, but we want to go beyond that. Academic research, publishing. The readers, as I told you, readers are books of not more than 130 pages. For when we were young, we used to read them so that when children are in upper primary and lower secondary, they have books to read. And we have about 5 manuscripts we are handling right now. One of them I will mention is from the Vice Chancellor of Soroti University, Professor Ikoja. I'm editing his work, and probably that might be the first one we shall publish. And so we want to just let you know that. As we look to the future, I would like once again to thank the government through the Minister for the support we've received. We are well positioned to deliver better services. We recently purchased that Indigo machine. We are in the process of acquiring a 5-color machine. We are going to get a computer-to-plate machine. We are going to get a digital guillotine or paper cutting machine. We are going to get modern binders to replace the stock that we have. And we call for your support. Ladies and gentlemen, I talk like this because we don't get money from the treasury much as we are fully owned by government. What a contradiction. Government owns us, but they don't capitalize us, they don't give us money. The guest of honor will attest to that. So, but they said, no, you are a big son, 120 years. You must be independent. So government, in their wisdom, have said, you do business with MDAs. So I'm appealing to MDAs to support us. Last year, the president issued a directive that MDAs should give their print and publishing work to New Vision and Uganda Printing and Publishing Corporation. And I want to appeal to you on behalf of both companies, UPPC and Vision Group, that please give us the work. We can do it. And I confidently talk about New Vision, ladies and gentlemen, because I worked at the New Vision for 17 years. So that is like my other home. And I know their capabilities and capacities. So give us the work. We will do it. And we will not let you down. Let me once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, distinguished guests. We want to deeply appreciate that you have spared your time to join us for this launch. We are looking forward with zeal and hope to more partnerships with you. Once again, we appeal for your support to enable UPPC play its role in national development and transformation. I say all this for God and my country. May God bless you.
We are here to tell a story of our journey, and we thank you, Lord, for bringing us this far. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give the acting MD another better clap, actually. It's an amazing story indeed, and you know, I kept looking at what it means to have all those years working and non-stop, and then I got interesting comments from some of you, people sending me messages on paper and saying, you know, we are also here. We have also done 57 years. That's from the national, I think it was the national, the housing finance, I think, that sent me a message, and then also National Housing and Construction Corporation that says we have done 57 years. Housing Finance said we have done 57 years, and then also Uganda Breweries from 1946, which this was shortly after the Second World War. That puts it at 76 years. I like that feedback from you. It means you're paying attention. Bank of Uganda, 56 years. National Water, 50 years. And allow me on that note, recognize the presence of National Housing and Construction Corporation. They are here in the room. Someone called Isaac, stand up for recognition. Thank you so much. And thanks for participating. We have there is another one here, Uganda Wildlife Conservation Education Center, that has done 70 years. They have also sent in the representative from UWEC. Kindly stand up for recognition. Thank you very much. We have, on that note, allow me recognize the host, our host, the Kampala Capital City Authority. Their representative in the room, kindly stand up for recognition. A representative from KCCA. Oh, have they gone out? They just wrote to us. We have the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. Mbide, my former colleague, is now working with UMRA. Thank you very much, Mbide. And we have the National Curriculum Development Center, your representative in the house. Kindly stand up for recognition. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Is that a party symbol? Or, huh? Oh, 50 years. Good, good. NCDC. Congratulations. 50 years is a lot, is a lot. Then we have the Uganda Red Cross. The Uganda Red Cross in the room. Kindly stand up for recognition. We have also the Entebbe Municipal Council. They have also written their small number of years, 48 years. Just slightly older than me, so by then my mom was already dating my dad, so it is not very long ago. But thank you very much, Entebbe Municipal Council, and we recognize all of you. But as the acting MD spoke, my mind went to the common insult that we have been, that has been labeled against all of us. It reminded me, you know, the insult, the common insult about records and archiving. If you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. And then I remembered there was a BBC discussion one time which was quite hilarious. I think it was in West Africa or Kenya, I don't now remember very well. And I think 3-4 years ago, and these black Africans were angry that they had been insulted. So when the white man made that comment, the black man responded and said, no, that's not very true. In fact, there is also another reminder that if you want to hide something from a white man, put it in marriage. And these black Africans were very angry, and then some journalist, I think, started reading and started a club of reading live on radio. And so there is a reading club, I think, somewhere in West Africa, I think Sierra Leone or somewhere there, where they do reading of, you know, documents, archives of their nation, of the region, and young people read live. So perhaps we should start something like that with all these things. You know, MPs recently were, you know, quarreling up in arms about the coffee bill. This was last year or the year before. I think it was just before the last election. And yet the coffee bill is something of over 50 years ago. So it's not that it is new, and but you know, those are our lovely good representatives that we have. So it's important we fall in love with the UPPC and support you, and see how far we can go with getting more knowledge from you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a quick picking of minds from some people amidst us. Allow me now invite representatives. This one, should we really read 20 years? When people are talking of 110, then you are bringing me to 10, 20 years. The National Council for Higher Education, we recognize you. But I am shy to read the numbers of years you exist, because you are really, you know, a beginner. 20 years of quality higher education regulation. You know, because it's so little amidst the giants, they have decided to write so many things just to frighten us, that 20 years of quality higher education regulation. But we recognize your presence in the room. Thank you very much. Let's clap for them. Now, this one is something. Yes, Uganda Railways Corporation, stand up. The representatives of Uganda Railways Corporation. 121 years, finally. But before we clap a lot for you, how many years have you taken recently without working? Over 20. The president just 2 days ago said the whole of Kasese, we cannot access you because the rails are just dilapidated. Okay, but you're still serving. Thank you very much, Uganda Railways Corporation, and we recognize your presence. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me now invite Mr. Bossa Sulaiman from Kumba University. Kindly come up and take up your seat here. Allow me, let's put our hands to welcome him. We are going to have a very quick panel, not more than 20 minutes. Initially we were supposed to do with that panel about, it was supposed to be 1 hour something, but we are not going to take all that because I want to pick views from you for UPPC. So I will concentrate on you, the audience, more for about 10-15 minutes to pick your views. We still have some time spared, but we are going to get some of these experts that engage and interact very closely with the Uganda Gazette, with the printing, with archiving, and all that. Kumba in the university, the representative Bossa Sulaiman is a lecturer at the law school. Thank you very much. Allow me also invite the Commissioner for the First Parliamentary Council, Commissioner Miriam Namutebi. When we were at law school, when I looked at the functions of that council, I said, this looks like one of the best places to work at. But when I was told the details of the amount of work, I said, this is not something I want to do. It's not what I want to do. But I recognize, Commissioner, and you do a good job, an important role that you play for this country. Allow me also invite Vincent Katusi, the Director, Civil Registration of the Uganda Registration Services Bureau. He is representing the Registrar General, Council Mercy Kainebwisho, I think. Yes. Thank you very much. And we will start straight up, and then the recognitions as they come, I will do just after this panel discussion. So I'm going to give each of you 2-3 minutes, just to make, quick overall, overview of the topic that I'm going to give you. 2-3 minutes, and then I will request someone from the panel to ask a question, a follow-up, or I will do it myself. But in all, 5 minutes for each of you. Starting with Commissioner Miriam, the making of the laws, understanding legislative drafting and drafting processes. What do you want us to pick from that unique organization that unfortunately many Ugandans do not know about? I'm afraid to say even many lawyers, even many MPs, but that's a fact. I've engaged with both, and I know that for a fact. Many people do not know your role. What do you want the country to pick in terms of legislative drafting, the processes that we go through, and what is relevant really in relation with the printing?
Good morning. Hello? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the question, and thank you very much, UPPC, for inviting us. Indeed, they are our great partners. The First Parliamentary Council is a directorate in the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, and it is mandated with the two major roles. One is drafting laws, and then the other one is authorizing publication of the laws. First and foremost, we need to know that when you're going to make a law, even if it's a district making an ordinance or a bylaw, even if it's a ministry making a regulation, you need to make sure that the laws conform, one, to the Constitution, that you've had stakeholder consultations, and that you have it's not conflicting with other laws. Mm-hmm. And so basically that's what we do in First Parliamentary Council.
We have about 146 or more local governments, and there is usually, I've seen in newspapers, in different reports, hearing on social media, people complaining about bylaws, and ordinances that come from the local governments. What advice would you give as a way of sensitizing the local people on how to engage with some of these processes as far as you're concerned?
Take interest in the making of the laws. When the local governments are making the laws, their bylaws, it's the council that sits, and then they consult and say, we want to make a law against street children. We want to have one against child abuse. And so they will sit and say, what is it particularly that affects us? KCCA recently had one against street children. And so, but usually when they advertise them and put them up on the notice board, we don't pay attention. Or many of the people don't pay attention. We need to pay attention. Because when you give your comments to your member of parliament, to your LC chairperson, to the councillor that represents you, they take those forward when they're making the laws.
And maybe perhaps I should even not take it for granted. What is a bylaw and what is an ordinance?
The ordinance is made by the district, and the bylaws is made by the sub-county.
To what extent are they relevant to the ordinary persons of Uganda?
If you go to Mukono district, they started charging parking fees, street parking fees, and they did that by using a bylaw. And then they have one for the markets that says you not bring in this kind of meat. If you're going to sell meat in the market, you need to get permission from the marketing master, who is going to, and the health inspector, and you're going to be verified and checked. And then you will not take in an animal like a cat or a dog into a market, or if you do, it has a special place. And not everybody can drive a car through the market, and so on and so forth.
What if they had not put it into an ordinance? Would it fail to be operationalized?
It becomes difficult to charge. You know, at the end, usually in the part of the bylaw is that if you do, they have what they call offenses and penalties provisions, and then they will charge a fee, and they will take you to the magistrate and say you have violated this offense. If it's not gazetted, then it's not something that they can charge a person with.
To what extent do bylaws and ordinances have effect of law? And I'm looking at an example. You know, the former chairman of Gulu, now Minister of Justice designate, at one time had a quarrel in Gulu with some NGOs. Disagreement. Eventually, they were shown the exit out of the district. To what extent does such a conflict have, you know, effect of law, or what that action effect of law at a national level? Could such, was it Medicine Sans Frontier that time? I think I'm trying to recall the name. Could they say the Constitution allows us to operate from anywhere in the country, and therefore we are not going, if the district says leave?
Usually, well, that one went beyond the district level, I would say, but usually when the NGO board is approving NGOs, they will consult the district, and the district has a stake, and a very big say and a recommendation. So if a district says you leave, most probably you are no longer acceptable to their terms and their conditions. You've violated something, their laws, and they'll ask that you leave.
Okay. Now, finally, from me, in terms of one of the issues that the acting MD talked about, you know, the value of reading. You also talked about notices and how Ugandans should ensure they follow some of these notices to ensure that they are informed and sensitized about the laws, about statutes, about bylaws, and name them. What would be your final advice to Ugandans generally?
My final advice to Ugandans, one, on the very, very basic level, let's stop signing documents that we have not read. If you don't understand it, and I'm talking, I know that I'm preaching to the converted, but we have our relatives that are very good at signing documents that they have not read. Please look for somebody who can interpret for you what has been presented before you append your signature. And then to the other Ugandans that there are, the upper scale and the colleagues here, let's take interest in these items. And many times I inform stakeholders, ministries, that we have a role to sensitize the public after the making of the law, so that they know that this law has come up and we should not do this and that.
Okay. I've realized from that. Now, to our Ugandans who would want to know the process of lawmaking, if someone is so concerned about something that they want regulated through a legal process, and they want to come to Parliament or start that process, what would you advise them to do? going through that process, where should they go to first? And what would your role and the role of UPPC be in ensuring that the chains are all followed and to the completion level?
It depends on what it is. Sometimes, if I take an example of a health matter, you need to talk to your health representative. You may talk to the minister, okay? Because some health issue, personal as it may be, is also an issue of national concern. And so it's not going to be my district or my LC, sub-county LC people taking up that law. It's going to now go to a national level.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, is there anybody with a, let's clap for Commissioner Mariam first. Is there anybody with a quick question for her? Because she is it the first, actually she is the first door of our laws when they are starting, before it is finally done and brought to the Uganda Gazette. Anybody with a quick question for Commissioner? Yes, sir. Can we have a microphone, movable microphone? As the microphone is being taken, allow me recognize the CEO of the Vision Group, my good friend Don Wanyama. Kindly, Mr. Wanyama, you're still young. You can stand up for people to recognize you. Many people do not know. Thank you very much, and thanks for coming to be here in this. I hope you have had breakfast. This is a breakfast meeting. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Charles.
Yeah.
I have listened to you severally, and I'm one of your followers elsewhere.
Thank you.
I work in the Cabinet Secretariat as a Commissioner of Policy Development and Capacity Building. I do a lot of work that fortunately passes through her hands because we are meeting for the first time. Now, my question to the Commissioner, First Parliamentary Council, I think I have two. One, that as a chief technical person in making of laws and regulations in this country, and arguably the level of legal knowledge is still low. How do you want the UPPC? I'm happy you're working together. How do you see them help you to popularize your work, and so that you can be able to drive out ignorance, legal ignorance from our people? Secondly, Madam Commissioner, I also interface with a lot of your staff and the material. You know, policy cannot be effective without legal force. So we are like a brother and a sister in terms of this. And when you talk about principles of the law in a layman's language, what do you mean? I thank you very much, Madam Commissioner, for the opportunity to listen to me. Looking forward to working together for the betterment of our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that question, Commissioner. And let me give Commissioner Miriam the opportunity to respond. Miriam.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Principles of the law, they are the guiding parameters within which you work. The principles are usually determined by cabinet. When you're making a law, when the Ministry of Agriculture decides that you're going to make a law or even a regulation, if it's the big law, the act, like the Fisheries Act, they're going to make out what they think they want, but they have to first go to cabinet and say, this is what we want to do. And cabinet will look at the policy that they have as a country at large and discuss and set out parameters. Yes, you can expand your board, or you cannot expand your board. And yes, you can go out and give, let permits be given at sub-county level. No, it will be at the district, or it will be at the ministry. So those are the parameters, sort of, it's the guiding parameters within which then the other debates of the law are going to be made. That's what we mean by the principles. And then your other question on how UPPC should popularize our work, I think they are doing very well. It's just that that office of ours in Kampala, of theirs in Kampala, is not very well known. And most people, every time you talk about UPPC, they'll think about Entebbe, and yet they have a liaison office in Kampala. If only they could make that very well known, and also make sure that all the laws that are published are available or available at the shortest notice. That would be good enough, because if I can refer somebody and say, go and pick the Companies Act, and they find it there, it will be good. Maybe the other thing maybe they could help with that is if we could have simpler versions, because understanding a law in its technical sense is not an easy thing. But if you do have a simpler version of the law in liaison, working with the agency, maybe the companies, Uganda Registration Services Bureau, and you have a simplified law, then that will be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I, okay, MD, quick question.
Supplement to what Commissioner has said, and I forgot to mention it in my speech. One of the things we are considering seriously is to have as much information on laws and policies as possible translated into the local languages.
Okay.
When we were looking through the archives of UPPC, we actually found that one of the roles of the government printer from colonial times was to print and publish local language newspapers. And the other day, my brother Don, I was thinking about the local government, local language newspapers of Vision Group, for which I was privileged to edit one for 12 years, ETOP. I was editor ETOP for 12 years. And I feel pained that they were closed about 2 years ago. But I was happy that they said that they are going to revive them. And I said I might whisper to my brother Don that probably you give me to print those papers, because I have a passion, because I'm part of their history.
Yeah.
And then we do it according to the history of Uganda Printing and Publishing Corporation. So yes, we are thinking of translating laws. And that is one of the roles that we want to do in the publishing department.
Very
of course,
wonderful.
In liaison with the First Parliamentary Council.
That would be a great thing, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of the constitutional demands is to translate the Constitution in the major local languages for people to read and understand. I'll have the final one. Is that to the First Parliamentary Council still? Okay, there is a hand of a lady there, and then I come to the other panelists. Let's have a quick question from the lady.
Yes, thank you, Charles. My name is Carol Niwarunji. I work with the Uganda Law Reform Commission. I'm a senior legal officer. My question to Miriam is that in my interface with the law, we find that there's a conflict between the copies of the law that are sent to and the ones published by the UPPC. My question is, what happens along the way? Why are the assented copies usually different from the UPPC copies, and which ones should we take as the legally accepted ones? Then on the issue of translation, the Uganda Law Reform Commission has the mandate to translate and simplify laws. And
what's happening?
The Commission has translated the Constitution into various languages, over 15 languages so far, and they're available. Some are on the website, downloadable. Others are taken to the regions that use those languages. And work is still ongoing. We are working on translating more.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Law Reform Commission. Miriam?
Thank you very much. I would like to say I don't agree with you that that is a very common occurrence. It is a very rare one. It has happened, I agree, and it has changed. You know, in drafting laws, just 2 words make a difference, and it has happened. Now, usually, there's a technical hitch that is identified by the agency that was not corrected in the assented copy. Probably there was something that was overlooked when they were preparing the assented copy. But usually when that happens, the leading agency, the first parliamentary council, and the clerk to parliament are in agreement about that change.
Okay.
So you should take what is in the published copy, because if you were to take what is in the assented copy, it's not what is it's not available usually. Assented copies are reserved for the first parliamentary council, for the publisher. There are about 10 specific agencies that receive the assented copy duly signed by the president. The rest of you just see published copies. And that is what you should take.
Okay, thanks a lot. I know there is more interest in asking Commissioner Miriam. Unfortunately, I'm trying to manage the time, and we are still within the time, but there are a number of other panelists. Probably save the questions for them. The other person that we have on the panel is Mr. Bosa Sulaiman from Kumba University, and he's going to, he's going to give us a thought on why gazetting is important, a case for the Uganda Gazette. Mr. Bosa, switch on your microphone in 2 minutes. Give us your thoughts on that topic.
Thank you so much for that. Members who have come to be here as witnesses of UPPC making 120 years, you're most welcome. I want straight away go to the topic, which is the importance or significance of the Gazette. Now, the Gazette, first of all, is a product of UPPC. It is one of their popular products. In fact, the Gazette is more popular than the host UPPC. And that is why I think that UPPC should take keen note of the Gazette. Now, there are a number of reasons why the Gazette is important. First of all, it is established into force by law. By law, an act of parliament, followed by its establishment in the UPPA Corporation Act. So meaning that the first is that it is the official and authentic publisher of all public documents. Now, you can get information from any other sources, social media, other media companies, but you need the authentic, legal, and official publisher, and that would be the Gazette. Meaning that if you are to go in front of the law with something that was published by the Gazette, then you have a document that you can bank on, and the judge will take that as authentic. That's the first one. The second one is that you want to track where you're coming from. You have seen that they are marking 120 years. Not of documents over 120 years, but even of documents before 120 years. Now, this is the National Archive, and all information regarding the government, regarding private companies, NGOs, regarding the media, also regarding the general public and professional bodies, has been tracked from way back during the colonial time. So, and other publishers have also done the same. But the fact that this is the legally established body, you will track evidence more authentic from this Gazette. Therefore, that is the second importance of the Gazette. The third one is the Gazette is a platform for creating awareness for the public, especially in regards to policies and laws. Because when they publish, you know that it is the legal publisher. So members of the other institution, the stakeholders and players, will pick information directly from the Gazette and be able to push it further until it reaches destinations where it's supposed to go. And finally, in the interest of time, also we can say that in terms of record keeping, the Gazette will provide you that platform, because you will go there and find your records kept intact. The director has already hinted on that, how far they have gone. And maybe finally, that I can say also that the Gazette plays a very significant role in terms of enforcing the fact that the leaders who are voted can only know that they are authentic if they are being published. In fact, they have really been a very good agents of publicizing the Gazette. Because until you know, the other platforms will really inform you that you've won by this margin. But the Gazette must have published you out. Then you're sure that you are probably a member of parliament or a representative of any local government or anything. I submit.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bosa. Well said, well said. Anybody with a question for this particular topic, the case for gazetting, a case for the Gazette? Anybody with a question, any doubt still hanging for Councillor Bosa, or it's that clear? You know, he's a teacher, so they say when a teacher teaches and there is no question, one, it may mean that all the students have not understood. Two, it may mean that the teacher is so good for also different reasons. Maybe the topic is so simple that the teacher just decided to make clarifications. So with the Gazette, which one do we take? That is so good, he has given us the facts as a lawyer, and I can only now say I have nothing useful to add. Okay, but remain there. Questions may come towards the end. I think the issue of the case for the Gazette is a clear-cut one. Let's now go to Mr. Katutsi Vincent. The topic for you is the complementary roles of URSB and the Uganda Printing and Publishing Corporation in civil and business registration. I know yours might be controversial because you know New Vision, and there are many primary stakeholders of New Vision here. At one time they published a screaming headline, and we all got scared and ran back to our priests that so many people actually are not married. And then people started going home but you married me. So we were in church. It turns out many of the marriages are actually not legal because they were done in places not gazetted. So this you will also help tell us in your presentation how this comes about and why it is important that you as Ugandans know about your role and the role of the UPPC in, in business registration and in civil registration and other such records. So, Mr. Katutsi, in 3 minutes.
Thank you, Charles. I want to begin by congratulating UPPC for making it 120 years, and of course the ED for his 7-year office running and all. We are honored to be part of this discussion. URSB, as most of us may be aware, handles a couple of registrations. We have business registrations, we have intellectual property registrations, we have civil registrations, we have insolvency-related matters, and also what we call simple, distributed interest in movable property registration. Now, in execution of our role, there are a couple of things we generate. There are those we need before we do what we're supposed to do. There are those we generate, and then something must be done before they can take legal effect. Now, the law will specifically provide that, for example, if you're going to change a name, you're going to pass a special resolution and then have the same gazetted before you can get now a new certificate. So then the law becomes a stated obligation to gazette that. And that's how that ends up at UPPC. The same law will say, for example, that for a church to celebrate a marriage, it must, one, get a license from the minister, and then gazette the license before it can start to solemnize marriages. So these are stated obligations that must be met. A couple of other things we do, for example, under insolvency, when companies are going into winding up and all that, a couple of things must be gazetted to notify the public. So the particular importance of the Gazette in this matter is that once you put your notice in the national paper, the Gazette for that matter, then there's a presumption that the world has known. So for all these activities that have a bearing on people having to know, they must be gazetted. If you're changing your name, for example, you're going to do a deed poll. But this is between you, probably the office, and nobody else. So how does the public get to know? You're supposed to gazette. UPPC has been doing this a very good job for us, gazetting our documents. And I want to just probably even point out that they are a very listening institution, for those who had any doubts. When we began a drive to have most of the churches licensed, have trademarks, gazetted, have company names and all that gazetted, the fees were a bit high. As an institution, we felt that the people who are serving, the local person, you and me, were not benefiting because they would pay a lot of money to get what they're supposed to be getting. So what did we do? As an institution, we met with UPPC and had a discussion. And I'm glad that when the ED was talking about their card, the rate card, there are new and old fees. The new fees are partly because of the discussion that we had, and we thank UPPC for that. And today we can say we're getting what they're supposed to get at a lesser cost. Yes. So the other issue is that, of course, when we do what we do, work very closely with the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. So the license, for example, for a church, it's handled by the Minister for Justice. In his wisdom, he will approve a request for license, and when he does, then this license is gazetted. I just want to speak to the issue that you raised of the churches and the screaming headline and things of the kind. The law demands that for a church to solemnize a marriage, it must have a license, and the same must have been gazetted. Now, if these are legal requirements, it means that if you have neither of the above, then whatever you're doing has questions in it. So the screaming headline, I must say, was about maybe 90% right. And that should set us worrying, because most of us here today, I believe they are either potential clients for us or they have already been clients. Now, it's critical that for us, before we get into these marriage unions, then we are in the right places. Before the right minister, in the right church. And so it's incumbent on us to read the Gazette, probably, to pick this information. Because if you don't, then the burden might come back to you. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's clap for Katutsi. Before I bring you, I bring the panel, the plenary into the discussion to ask you questions. There is an upcoming action of, you talked about the potential clients, Katutsi. The scenario of us young people, let me own the question and assume that I'm one of the young people who are intending to get married, and they want to get married on the sea, on an ocean, on a boat, on a yacht, or at the seaside, at the beach, and then they go and get married. First, tell us how it can be done, whether it is allowed by law. Can it be done? How can it be done if it can be done? And the time allowance, because I know legally there is an issue of time. Tell us about those, and then you can be free to worry the many of us who have wedded at the beaches, whether we actually got married or we were just lied to.
Thank you, Charles. So again, let me just say that we have about 5 categories of marriages in this country. The Islamic marriage, the church marriage, the civil marriage, we have the customary marriage, and then we have the Hindu marriage. Now, that's one. Now, these marriages must happen within Uganda for us to have jurisdiction over them. So if you want to really do it on the ocean, you might have to make another arrangement. But if you're doing it in the confines of Uganda, then chances are that our laws are going to have, in a way, affect you. Now, there is what they call a special license. A person desirous of having his marriage on the golf course, because he's a politician, he has maybe 5,000, 20,000 people to attend. The law requires that this person applies for a special license. So you apply to the Minister for Justice for a special license, and you give justification why you feel you should be outside a gazetted place, which is a church or the registrar's office. And then, looking at your reasons, the minister is able to give you a license. When he gives you the license, then that particular place for that particular day is able to be a place where you can house solemnize your marriage. You talk about time. All of us know that in church, you go at 8 up to 6. So to have a valid legal marriage, it's going to be between these 2 hours. 8 in the morning, running through up to 6. Okay? So if you have yours at 6:30, you can now begin punching the holes and adding the minuses. Now, the same law provides that for civil marriages, which are conducted by our office, but also with the cows in the districts, these marriages happen between the hour of 10 and the hour of 4. So you must then fall within those legal times for your marriage to be valid. Now, there are issues of where a person has had a ceremony in a place that was licensed, because maybe they are not aware of the circumstances. The law has, you would say, 2 positions, reading. One, it will tell you that such a marriage, if done willfully and willingly by the parties, is null and void. What does it mean? It means that if you went to a church that was not licensed, but you did not have the knowledge about those circumstances, then you can go to a court of law and validate your union. But what if one of the parties was aware of these circumstances? What if it can be proved that these parties were aware? For example, we are on national TV talking. Would a person tomorrow go and claim, I had no knowledge about this kind of thing happening? Will the judge be convinced that you do not have an idea about what you are doing? So those are circumstances. But there is a legal provision that I did mention, that one that talks about having done it, willingly. So if you can go to court and prove otherwise, maybe then the courts can validate your arrangement, and in that case, your marriage will be valid. So I call upon everybody who has such challenges to think about those options. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who have been into some of those scenarios, if you know that you got married in church after 6, start thinking of how to, do things right. It's the law, and so it's not Katutsi saying or myself. And then those of you who are lawyers and are going to say, you know, I didn't know, the law will presume that you really knew. Those of you who are lawyers, you really have no excuse. Allow me take 3 questions for Mr. Katutsi, and then I will take Victoria 1 minute to just supplement on something, and we end with the panel. We must be here in the next few minutes. I see a hand there. Yes, let's have that quick question.
Patrick Chizitolule is my name. My question to Mr. Katunsi is very simple. I just need to be educated about this subject matter. Basically, I'm not yet married by law, but I intend to very soon. But I don't want to go in something that I really don't understand so well. So does the law basically accept us to marry twice? How? Using the law, that is what I'm talking about. Marrying the same person twice. You see, the law recognizes that customary marriage is marriage by law. So sometimes I see my sisters laboring, carrying 2 rings actually. It's like that from customary marriage, she goes again to the religious marriage. So it confuses me. I was convincing my wife to be that please let us end at the other level of customary. Then she's telling me, I will cut off your head if you don't take me to the other level. So I'm still confused, but now that Mr. Katusi is around, I beg to be educated on that. Thank you very much.
That's such a good question. Mr. Katusi, I'll leave it for you to respond to it.
Thank you, Charles, and thank you, Chizito. Maybe your wife knows your intentions. You see,
hiding.
Customary marriages are legally recognized marriages in Uganda. Yeah. The only problem they have, they are potentially polygamous. So you can marry as many women as you want. Now, the church marriage is monogamous. 1 man, 1 woman. Okay? So when you go there, let us just say that you're locked in until divorce or otherwise. Now, for you to, the question of conversion, the law provides for conversion. That if you're taking the same woman that you married customarily, you can convert that marriage into a monogamous marriage. So your dear wife wants to lock you in where she's going to be the only wife of yours. That's the whole thing, basically. And probably just to mention also that all marriages in this country must be registered. Okay? You are supposed to register marriages. There is supposed to be a national repository of all these marriages, just in case you need to refer to them. Because how would you prove a customary marriage that happened 50 years ago where none of the parties that were present probably passed on? The legal framework has been there. Let's have all our marriages, the 5 I talked about, all of them must be registered. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Katutsi. So you see, your wife actually knows better what she's looking for. That's actually the reason for that confusion. So let her get what she wants. Please go to church. Don't hide under customary marriage. Because the woman knows you could get another one, similar method, and she is not the only wife. I like that lady. Say congratulations to her. Let's have that hand. They say women are the weaker sex, but you see now the contradiction in that statement. They are actually very strong in their way. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Charles Battambuse. I work for the National Book Trust of Uganda, but also the National Culture Forum. I appreciate what Katusi has said about the fees for accessing the Gazette, especially the negotiations that they had with UPPC. But looking at the rate card, and I see that, for instance, registration of copyright is still 300,000. That is still not accessible. And I heard the acting MD say that, you know, we reduced these rates to favor poor musicians. 300,000 is still not favorable to the musicians. I imagine an album has about 12 songs or 15, and if each song is to be registered at 300,000, you can see how that becomes unaffordable. Or a publisher like Fountain might want to register 500 titles of their books, times 300,000 for each title. That becomes unaffordable. So we in the creative sector would like to support the registration of copyright and so on, but we still appeal that these rates be reduced further to enable us comply. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's have that as the last question, because we have a time limit within which the telecasts are supposed to exit. So, and I need the chief guest to be captured within that that time slot. Katutsi, your last go.
Thank you, Charles. Of course, the question I think was really, it was information to UPPC. On our part, as the Bureau, of course, we continue to have discussions on behalf of our clients, the musicians, on whether or not it's a lot of money. UPPC, of course, would advise. But I think it has always been through discussion, and well, even that theory came from somewhere. So we believe they have the spirit to reconsider. I guess the music industry should have further discussion with UPPC, but on our part, we shall always support. We shall be in the background supporting you to try to probably make meaningful discussion with UPPC to see if they can help serve our clients better. We do believe that when these rates are affordable, then we'll have more registrations and therefore more benefit. But since UPPC is also doing it as a business to an extent, then they know that's their model. We can't really talk much about that. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's Victoria wanted to supplement on something. Victoria from UPPC, kindly, in 1 minute.
Thank you, MC. I needed to supplement on the council's submission from Kumba University. I think you forgot to mention that there's need that universities also need to gazette their policies, and they need to gazette their students. As you pass out these students at every graduation, I think it is key for them to be gazetted, because at the moment, Uganda is full of fake documents. People present these, people have worked in these offices for years. I mean, we should get out of that. Why do we have to go the long way of doing investigation?
Of the day on UBC.
If I'm looking at issues of taxation and all that, I will definitely run for the Kateshumbas. Okay? Okay. If I look at, if I'm looking at issues of investments and what, I would definitely run. I would definitely run for Dr. Emure Kugonza and Honorable Omara. Okay? If I'm looking at issues of the law, I will run for our very, very own people. I have the Oboso Bosses, I have the Katuntus, I have the Robin Arwakojos. So everyone is talented in one way or another.
Did you mention Katuntu?
Okay. Yes.
Is he yours?
Yes, he is.
Yours as in NRM?
He is.
Was brought to you by.
Simply make a small deposit of 99k and pay the balance mpola. You can pay in daily, weekly or even monthly installments while you enjoy your new phone. So what are you doing today? Visit any MTN shop near you and get the MTN cupboard super easy.
I'm going to kindly let's National Council, you have something burning. Okay, in 30 seconds.
Thank you, Charles and the members. I'm Solo from National Council for Higher Education. A lot has been mentioned about National Council and the gazetting of graduates. And I remember last time we met UPPC and we put it forward to them. that we need to liaise with the ministry to have it in the act, because we don't have it anywhere. So we don't have any law to use to tell universities and other tertiary institutions to gazette students. Secondly, if we are talking about awarding and people who have been awarded, it's not only universities that are awarding, we have other agencies within the ministry. We have UBTEP, it's also awarding. We have UNEP, it's also awarding. We have UAHEB, we have UNIMEB, and others. So we may not look at National Council only, but now let's go for the mother ministry, which brings together National Council and its sisters and brothers. Thank you.
Okay. So I see the need. Commissioner Miriam, do you want to really respond? Is it something that can be, followed up and done to make it into a law, to ensure quality assurance of the qualifications?
I was just discussing the concerns about I think we need to make the penalties very grave, such that somebody knows that if I'm going to forge a certificate and present it and I'm caught, then for the next 5 years I cannot apply for a job anywhere. Something like that. And then the public is sensitized constantly so that they are making informed decisions.
But even the punishment wouldn't, because high risk means high returns. So if the more you make it risky, the cleverer we shall become. I have interacted with the law on wildlife trafficking. Some of the penalties against wildlife trafficking are the most painful. But the trafficking in wildlife has actually been on the increase, especially in our part of the region. So, but it's something, I like the discussion, and maybe it is something we have to follow up. UPPC and the National, the Council for Higher Education and the First Parliamentary Council. But, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for this wonderful panel, very educative. Allow me now use the authority given to me to dismiss the sitting, and kindly take back your seats. I know that it was a good place for you to sit. All the glamour and the lighting, the camera, it is also a high sitting place, but now you have exhausted your moment of glory. Thank you very much. Let's clap again for them. Allow me quickly recognize the following persons. Uganda Revenue Authority is represented in the room. Uganda Revenue Authority, kindly stand up for recognition. Thank you very much for collecting our taxes promptly. Uganda National Forestry Authority is also here. Thank you very much, representatives from that organization. From Vision Group, we got some officials, managers who escorted or rather accompanied the CEO. The manager printing, kindly stand up for recognition. Head of Marketing and Communication, kindly stand up for recognition, my old friend Roj. We have Fountain Publishers Limited in the room, and they have said we are proudly 34 years and excelling to publish. Thank you. Uganda Manufacturers Association. And thank you very much. And they have written here that we have made a big milestone for 34 years. Thank you very much. We've got Prime General Supply Limited, 28 years plus 8 months of existence. You see, even if you add the 8 months, it won't take you to 100 years, But thank you very much for the partnership, the House of Paper. The National Bureau for Non-Governmental Organizations, doing regulations in Uganda. 33 years, right there. Thank you very much, Ochaya David, representing the organization. Then we have Kyambogo University. I like Kyambogo University's, you know, the seeking for, you know, to, you know, like they say, the story of the frog and the elephant, and the frog kept swelling, you know, it would swell. As a university, it is 19 years old. But they have decided to tell me that, remember, we started as UPK 94 years ago. Then we were ITEC 74 years ago. Then we were UNICE. No, we have UNICE something, 34 years old. At the merger of UPK, ITEC, and UNICE, we became Kyambogo University, which is only 19 years old. Thank you so much for being in the room with the big boys. Finally, Uganda Virus Research Institute, congratulations, they are 86 years old since 1936. And the Directorate of Industrial Training, 76 years old since 1947. This is almost an age mate of my dad. So yes, thank you very much. Congratulations to all of you and for the partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have too much time. We have our chief guest who has to talk to us. Allow me now take the singular honor to invite the representative of the minister in charge of presidency. In the room we have Haji Yunus Kakande, Secretary, Office of the President. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together to welcome Haji Yunus Kakande to come and talk to us. You're most welcome, Haji.
The Acting Managing Director, UPPC, the Commissioner who is representing the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, the Commissioner who is also responsible for capacity building and policy development in the Office of the President, the Managing Director, New Vision, Mr. Don Wanyama and his group he has come with, the staff and all executives of Uganda, of UPPC, the various representatives from ministries, departments, and agents, the members of the private sector, representative of the media, fraternity, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here standing in for the Minister, Honorable Babaranda Mire, who would have loved to be here with you, but by the time this day came, she was on a short notice given guidance to go and be in Arusha, so she's not around. So I had to stand in for her. First of all, before I go to her remarks, I want to thank the Managing Director. One, for the little time he has stayed in UPPC, for the work he has done. This company started in 1902, but like any other company, those who know, there have been problems with the parastatals. That is, at one time, it was decided that they be privatized. And it was in 1992. But later on, actually the statement was saying that let's prepare it within the next 10 years, we privatized it. But later on, in his guidance, or in his wise guidance, the president directed no. Let us reverse the decision and we have this organization 100% government. So we have been with it and we shall continue to be with it because government needs it. Even where it has privatized some companies, they are reprivatizing them. So I want to assure members who are here that UPPC is going to be there and government will do all it can to make sure that it is revamped. To that direction, the president already earmarks another company, which I think the MD would have talked about. That is Bredos, which is a German company. They're working together. I think they're holding 51% share. That's what they're holding with Bredos. Already, Bredos is in the process of constructing a factory at UPPC for making passports in this country. And we are even sanguine that within 15 years from now, this company, UPPC, because the other one now will hand over everything to UPPC, and the other one wound up, this company will be able even to be, they call it making money, manufacturing money. In other words, if you want our currency, you shall not go to, there's a company in Europe which is called Belarus, something like that. We shall not be going there. It will be here in Uganda where we shall be doing our printing our money. So this company, which is almost 120 years, we are going to make sure that we preserve it and even we revamp it because the president is interested in it. That's why he has brought another sister company from Germany to work with them, and eventually, after 15 years, everything reverts to UPPC. Having said that, as the Master of Ceremony mentioned, that we have a problem in this country of reading, and I'm sure it's you, the media, who should be inculcating this. People, maybe as he said that if you want to hide something from an African, put it in the books. But then, I just want to have, and it's true really that our people, even you, the elite, when you leave the universities and colleges, you go and make a funeral rites of books, so that this is the end of I've suffered a lot for 17 years reading. I must stop this business of reading. But I want again to appeal to you that please do the reading. There are two issues I mentioned in Kenya. Even I have another one. Milk taking. In all schools where we went through in Uganda, there is no schools, primary schools don't have a facility for making sure that at break time, our children take milk. Not even in secondary school, but in Kenya, those who have been in Kenya, primary schools, every child at break time must have call it a pint of milk. But why is it that in Uganda we don't have it? That's why we have our people, even the mature one, we don't want to take milk. And yet milk is very good for those who are science, for calcium building, for old people like myself. So, this business, it's you, the media, who should really move out and make sure that the people are sensitized to ensure that they read. I'm happy that my brother Oruka is saying that they want now to put much emphasis on publishing. They have been printing, but they want to put emphasis on publishing. They want to put emphasis on training, establish a training institute for training printers and others. That's a good vision for that organization. So I want to thank once again Ms. Oruka for taking this initiative of celebrating 120 years. Maybe we would have also celebrated 100 years some time back, but it was not possible. But you managed to come out with a vision to make sure that we celebrate 120 years of this organization printing. And really, to me, those who have read history, the first one and the second one were these. This one was UPPC, another one was Mariana Printing of the Catholic at Kisubi. They came almost at the same time. This one was printing mostly the Muno newspaper, Musizi, but it collapsed somewhere in the middle there, it collapsed. But this one persisted, and up to now it's persisting for 120 years. I don't see a reason why it will not persist for another 200 years in this country. So ladies and gentlemen, those were just my words. I want to go to the words of the minister. I wish to congratulate you and highly recommend you the idea of celebrating 120 years of UPPC. This is a wonderful decision that you made. It will not only paint a picture of UPPC to the current generation, but it's a reminder to the world that famous government printers of old still exist. But now, as Uganda Printing and Publishing Corporation, moreover, with all its excellent deliverables. Many of our leaders and managers today do not see UPPC of the last century. Neither do they know about what is UPPC capable of doing or actually producing currently. The celebrations are very timely, coming at the time when UPPC has just acquired very powerful and versatile equipment in the form of a 4-color printing machine, and with the plan is to acquire the 5-color machine. Other old machinery has been repaired or generally replaced. For this, I thank the current leadership at the UPPC for solving most of the challenges that we had here. As a result, this machinery has propelled UPPC into a world-class printer capable of handling any volume of work and yet maintaining the highest quality of outputs possible on the market. However, even as the UPPC has brought itself to the highest standard possible in the printing industry, the potential clientele of the UPPC has been slow to respond to the presidential directive that requires all MDAs in Uganda to surrender all their printing jobs to UPPC and New Vision Printing and Publishing. If the above directive was complied with, UPPC revenues would be quite high and subsequent contributions to the national coffers would be handsome. To support the UPPC is to support the growth of the country. It is to curtail hemorrhage of foreign exchange through external printing by individuals and rogue companies, and it is to eventually develop critical infrastructure such as dams, roads, railways, schools, and bring down costs of public services, etc. To this end, members who are here, I think that directive of the President, Office of the President, is going to make sure that all MDAs do adhere to this directive. The President said that 40% budget of printing in all MDAs must be dedicated to UPPC. And I want to assure that Office of the President to the Office of the Minister, we shall try to see that we inculcate this directive. I therefore wish to appeal to the main managers of the MDAs and the private sector to consider partnering with UPPC because of the above factors, including more important reason that we now offer a standard, quick, and competitive output, probably unmatched in the industry. Nonetheless, I wish to thank you for partnering with us in various ways and supporting the UPPC to recover. To the staff of UPPC, you are challenged to keep the UPPC flag rising and to maintain in all your business the values and dignity of the office of the President under whose docket you fall. Our dream is to have UPPC become the #1 printer of East Africa, even as we aim to compete for the jobs in the region. We need to become strong players in the soon to be the East African Common Market of now the 7 states. Indeed, our minister as a minister for presidency, she's also dedicated so that she makes this one be known to the entire East African region. All our marketeers at the UPPC should therefore be quickened by the above development in the region and to start focusing on the training issues in the market. For example, we need to go digital in every aspect of our business. Ladies and gentlemen, the minister said that she takes this opportunity to congratulate the UPPC upon this most deserved centenary celebration and kick off the activities to mark the celebrations. And I wish all the staff, the clients and partners of UPPC the best of the business and capital growth in decades and centuries ahead. She has on to say that for the few months Mr. Luka has been in the docket as acting managing director, that she is proving to be a capable manager, maybe because of the experience he has had in the new vision of 17 years. Maybe that one gave her that capability of managing such an institution, because me as a permanent secretary and officer of the president, I've been having problems with UPPC for a number of years. Every month I've been solving problems, but since he came, he has not even presented any problem to my office. So I hope and I'm sanguine that Mr. Ruka is going to do a good job. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for participating in this function this morning, and again appeal to you to continue giving business to this group, this company of ours. The problem has been machinery, but now we are gradually trying to revamp by retooling it, and it's now on the standards which are required worldwide in printing. I thank all of you for God and my country. Thank you so much.
Oluka, you should be the one to clap more, because it appears with those good words from your appointing authority, it seems you have been hired. We thank you all. May I now invite, as the chief guest signs, may I now invite Alex Wambe. Thank you very much. That's the congratulatory due for the 120 years. And you need to, all of you need to clap for yourselves. Let's give a clap for ourselves for participating in this. It's a milestone, and like I said at the beginning, I'm quite sure that the next 120 years will not find any of you around. So it's important you clap for yourselves for participating in this one. Allow me now invite Pastor Alex Wambi to come and give us a short ending prayer of not very long, and then immediately after him we all stand up for the anthems in reverse order. Chairman, I hope your machine is better this time. You remember that you have not been paid in full yet, so do a better job. Okay, Pastor, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much, MC, for the opportunity. I request that we stand up and give the presence of God that respect that it. Let us humble ourselves. Father, Almighty King, we thank you for this precious time. We thank you for this precious moment. We thank you for the grace that you have bestowed upon our lives. We thank you for the far you have brought us as UPPC. We thank you for the dignitaries that have honored our invite today. We thank you for the country that we live in and we serve in from Lord Father King of Kings. We bless your name for the glory. We thank you that it's just the beginning, Father King of Kings. Whatever we have discussed, whatever we have put in place, you're the one who can help us to execute, Lord Father. As we plan, we thank you for the recommendations. We thank you for the promises of the government. We thank you and bless your name, Lord Father, King of Kings. As these people leave this place, Lord Father, may the grace of the Lord be upon you. Let us recite the grace of the Lord. May the grace of the Lord, our Lord Jesus Christ, and the fellowship of the Spirit be with us all, now and forevermore. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The anthems in reverse order. East Africa first.
You might have seen videos like this before.
East African anthem.
Yetu
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. We are going to have